Now, as I mentioned earlier, I was ready to call, oh, come on, with this Mika Brzezinski's going to interview Joe Biden. This is going to be a softball game, okay? This is going to be, you know, the old-timers versus the has-beens in a Monday night arc pitch game. But lo and behold, I was wrong. And rarely do I admit that, as my associate and senior producer Nico will probably agree with. I rarely admit being wrong, and I'm often wrong. I'm wrong from time to time, but I don't usually admit that. But I was wrong about Morning Joe today because I was skeptical if they were going to actually interview Joe Biden and ask him the hard questions. And I put it on this morning, and I'm waiting. I got my coffee. I did all my preparation, have my brain in the right shape so I could write some notes and find some stuff to say, that's bullshit, and call that out. Why didn't you ask him this? Mika beat on the guy, okay? She hit him hard, asked him the same questions, quoted many other Democratic leaders who were very, very boisterous in the Kavanaugh hearings and said, well, what about Nancy Pelosi said this? What about you said this? What about Stacey Abrams, supposed contender to be running mate? What about all these people? And Joe was I said it. He was doing a little tap dance. He was doing a samba in there. And at the end of all days, he would not agree to allow his archive of materials from his Senate and vice presidential time, which are held at the University of Delaware. He would not allow that. And Mika said, well, why won't you allow it? How about a search just for her name? And he kept shucking and jiving. He kept going back to his safe word. You know what a safe word is? Yeah, there's a thing like, you know, if things are getting a little too freaky, you have a safe word, and you say it, and you say, okay, let's come out of that reality there. Oh, I said the safe word, or a buzzword. The safe word for Joe today was, the safe phrase was, this did not happen. This did not happen. And he also said, in response to some comments that he made, that, well, if someone steps in front of the bright lights and they come forward, we must hear them, but you must also assume that the essence of what they're saying has some truth to it. And Mika called him out on his exact thing and said, didn't you say that if someone comes in front of the bright lights and they put themselves forward, the essence of what they're saying must be true? And he said, yeah, well, then you got to investigate both sides, and I don't mind. Okay. Rarely am I in agreement with Morning Joe as much as today, but kumbaya, if you guys want to be friends for a little while, I'm happy to do it. But I would suggest you take a look at this, because Joe Biden said we should investigate. Let's investigate the claim. Let's get to the bottom of it. And then someone's proved right, someone's proved wrong. I'm not for guilt by accusation. We've already talked about that many times on this show. You can't just believe the accuser that the accused did exactly what they say. There's some time for thoughtful consideration, a hearing of the facts, and there's got to be a safe forum for people to come out and put the facts out there. Now, way back when Brett Kavanaugh was under attack by a woman who said something happened to her when she was in high school, she had a very loose grasp on any of the times, dates, who else was there, corroborating evidence, all that. There was nothing, okay? But our buddies for today on Morning Joe, Mika and Joe, were on The View back then, and they thought, and Mika said some things. She was honest even back then. I fact-checked it. She said, we can't just have everybody all of a sudden, we got to have a forum for the accuser, but we can't just automatically say Kavanaugh is guilty because she said it. We got to have some balance in the news coverage. Mika was on the money there. But here's what she suggested then, and this happened. So take a look at what Mika had to say on The View.
Look,
with
I
Joe.
think there should be an FBI investigation.
Right.
I think the Republicans should call for it. I don't know what they have to lose at this point, except for, quite frankly, the women vote in the midterms.
Right. What are they afraid of? They might be afraid of something. Something's going to come out. They don't want to have come out.
I think what we have here, though, and this morning, you know, we decided, like, nobody comes on our show and smears somebody or convicts somebody. Or tears someone down for speaking out. What we have in the media right now is a trial and a conviction happening in the media. This is so bad for our country, and this is what Trump wants. We need an FBI investigation.
You have Democratic senators that are going out.
Yes, thank you.
Can I carry your purse?
Yes, you may.
Fantastic.
All right.
You've got Democratic senators that are basically saying, I don't need to hear Kavanaugh. He's a rapist.
He did it.
You've got Republican senators going out there going, I don't need to hear these women. They're lying.
Yeah,
hey,
right. This is wrong.
due process.
No
we
such thing.
still have
No
due
such
process in America. Turn it over to the FBI.
Come on.
Let them investigate.
People talk to the
Come
FBI
back with the
investigators
facts.
very differently than the way they talk to reporters.
Well,
Why
Joe,
doesn't
do you think he
Kavanaugh
survives?
want one? Why doesn't Kavanaugh want one?
You'd have to
think?
ask him.
Question.
I will tell you this:
Right.
if any of us were in his situation, we would all say, and people were lying about us, wouldn't we say? Yeah, bring the FBI in.
Gosh, yeah,
bring
please.
everybody in. Investigate it. But I think you asked, will.
And I happen to think Joe is right. Let's bring the FBI in. Let's investigate it. Why not? Brett Kavanaugh was going for the Supreme Court. Supreme Court of the United States of America. That's where he was going for. It's one of the three branches of government. You know, let's do a little Schoolhouse Rock again, okay? You got the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. We have three legs of our government, okay? Brett Kavanaugh was being considered to be one of 7 people on the Supreme Court. And even Morning Joe and Morning Mika said that they should do an FBI investigation. By the way, Brett Kavanaugh submitted to the FBI investigation, and it turned out nothing. And as you know, Brett Kavanaugh is now sitting on the Supreme Court of the United States. So it may work out in Joe Biden's favor. Look how good. I mean, Brett Kavanaugh got dragged through the mud. He had his name smeared. He had his family given death threats and all kinds of other crap. But he took it on the chin. He went through it. He testified 2 times. He submitted to an FBI. Joe Biden wants to be president. So why not let Joe Biden submit to a brief FBI investigation of what's happening? I mean, I don't think that's the worst thing you could ask for. Now, Joe Biden's already being taken task on social media. He's getting killed already about fumbling things. And I want you to watch this clip, okay, when Mika asks him about doing a search for Tara Reade's name in his archive of materials at the University of Delaware. Take a look at what Joe had to say. You watch the stunned silence.
I'm just talking about her name, not anybody else in those records. A search for that. Nothing classified with the president or anybody else. I'm just asking, why not do a search for Tara Reade's name in the University of Delaware records?
Look, I mean, who does that search?
Who does it?
The University of Delaware. Perhaps you set up a commission that can do it. I don't know. Whatever is the fairest way to create the most transparency. I'm just talking about her name, not any.
I don't know if you could see the stunned look on Joe Biden's face. Look at it. Okay. He didn't know what to do. Now, I'm surprised Joe Biden's handlers put him in such a situation here where they let him get grilled by Mika like that. I'm really surprised that they let that happen, because it didn't look to me like he knew what the questions were going to be. It looked like he was quite unprepared. And it looked to me like for the most part, he was like, "Oh shit, what am I supposed to say next?" So I don't know. To me, I'm with Morning Joe, and I rarely say that. And those of you who watch me every day, and a bunch of my friends are tuned in right now. I want to thank everybody for tuning in every single day. My mama, Patty Fresh, she's got Joanne Pellegrino, Jimmy Thompson, Irene's on there, Vivian, RJ Maniaci, Mike Mazzelli's there, Helen Kingsley, my cousin Michael Pratt is even there. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you on the Facebook stream, Jennifer Cuevas, all our friends, Susan are out there. We're doing great on Facebook, but early next week we may be on an even better platform, and another platform. We'll be here for you, but we may be carried on another streaming platform. I'll get into that a little later on today. Beautiful day outside here in New York, as you could see. And I want to take a few minutes now to get into some fun stuff. And you know, I've been having a good time, and I'm getting some really great viewer response and feedback on, you know, all kinds of different memes, and people want to express themselves and say, hey, JT, you got a little bit of an audience, you know, put this on there. This is funny. This tells me a lot. So I want you to take a look at this. Somebody sent to my brother Derek, but this is the Democratic responses to the emergency, and some of them are like right on the money, you know. Closed churches and gun stores, okay? So churches and gun stores are closed. We just talked to Michael Johns about that. That's one Democratic thing. Keep murdering babies in abortion clinics. We know many states like New York and Virginia and others have recently approved post-birth abortions. Most of the progressive cities around are releasing felons, and most of the progressive cities around are having cops lock up citizens who are expressing their First Amendment rights and going out and doing things that they don't think add up with the order to shelter in place, okay? We want to subsidize illegal aliens. We got California now saying that they're going to give illegal aliens money. A minute ago, all the governors were saying that cities and states need to be bailed out because they don't have enough money for unemployment. Their pensions are underfunded. Somehow or another, we're going to subsidize illegal aliens, okay? Hydroxychloroquine, people reported some positive results. Some said it was anecdotal. What is the Democratic response? Ban it. Don't make it allowed. We don't want it. It's no good. At the same time, now everyone's talking about remdesivir, which is a pill from Gilead Sciences, where George Soros and Bill Gates are both investors, so the Bill Gates Foundation are investors. Hydroxychloroquine is like 20 cents a pill. Remdesivir is like 1,000, or, you know, something ridiculous, okay? While we're doling out money to all these small businesses that are losing their business and their life savings, one thing the Democrats want to do is give $75 million to the Kennedy Center for the Arts. Now, I'm all for the arts. I owe a lot of my career to the arts, okay? But $75 million to the Kennedy Center, where you got Valerie Jarrett and Susan Rice, former Obamaites, on the board of directors, a little hairy to me. We're buying PPE from China. Governor Gavin Newsom went himself and bought a whole bunch of masks and stuff directly from China. And while you were away, for those of you keeping score at home, every member of Congress got a raise during this pandemic, okay? None of them have been to work, so they got a raise and they're getting paid. No shortage of income or new income for those in the Congress. They got a raise, okay? Everything they could do to block relief for small businesses. If you remember, the first PPP, the first stimulus was $300 million. $2 trillion. $2 trillion. About 15% of that, $300 billion, went to the PPE the first time around. So the other 85% gone in the wind. The Democrats, they're on vacation. They're still on vacay. Right now, Today, I think Rep. Mike Lee came out and started ripping people and saying they should be back in Washington and doing the people's work. But we'll see how that goes. But as far as it is right now, everyone is on hiatus. They're all sheltering in place. And of course, Nancy Pelosi and others have already said that when all this is gone, we're going to have to investigate what Trump knew and when, and get ready for another round of, you guessed it, impeach Donald Trump. Craziness ensues. Anyway, thank you for that, Derek. Thank you for whoever sent that to you, Derek. Fantastic stuff. And, lots going on around the world. The Dow's down about 500 today.
To be honest with you,
I did want to point out that, in the past, we've reported on Project Veritas. Project Veritas is a right-leaning, investigative journalist company. They get out there, they get behind the scenes, they try to expose corruption, they try to bring truth to media. Now, I know one of the people in this, I know him for quite some time. He actually buried my dad. But James O'Keefe and Project Veritas have done a hard-hitting look at funeral parlors and the CDC guidance on why almost every hospital in America is seeing 100% of the deaths happening in their hospital be coded as COVID. And Project Veritas got inside and spoke one-on-one to a bunch of funeral directors. Take a look at this.
To be honest with you, all of the death certificates they're writing COVID on, all of the death certificates, whether they had a positive test, whether they didn't. So I think, again, this is my personal opinion. I think like the mayor in our city, they're looking for federal funding, and the more they put COVID on a death certificate, the more they can ask for federal funds. So I think it's political. So I'm going to turn around and say, not everybody that we have here that has COVID on a death certificate died of COVID. Can I prove that? No, but that is my suspicion.
So you think that they're just putting it on everyone who's dying?
They're putting it on everybody's death certificate to make life easier for them, because the causes of death get proved right away. If you write COVID, listen, they're just pushing things out because they're overwhelmed, and it's just easier to write COVID on everything. That's my opinion.
So this isn't we're not the first case of this happening.
Oh, absolutely not.
How often do you think this has happened?
Quite a lot.
Well, that's Mike Lanza from right here in Staten Island. I thought that clip was a little bit longer, but I guess that's not the one I had originally sent over. But, who knows? We got Gary Goldman joining us in just a bit here. Just a little humorous news. As I mentioned, a lot of people are sending me stuff. Some of it's serious, like, the things Democrats are trying to do to us. Some of it's funny. Some of it makes me crack up laughing. But this was probably one of the more clever things I have seen. And it comes to me from a group of guys who belong to my country club, the Golf Boys. And this is about as clever as it gets. Take a look, for those of you who like horse racing. Here's a great race that's going on as we speak.
And they're off. Out of the gate, it's coronavirus, followed closely behind by Wuhan-style lockdown. On the outside, it's global pandemic working hard against Flatten the Curve. Social distancing got off to a slow start, but he's now neck and neck with Flatten the Curve. On the inside, it's just a little flu, followed by Trust the Experts. As they pass the quarter pole, 18 months vaccine is working hard to get past Plaquenil. Dr. Fauci is 3 lengths back of the leaders. Stimulus plan is trying to squeeze by PPE as they enter the backstretch. But out on the outside, here comes economic shutdown. Open by Easter, gets bumped a little bit by Dr. Fauci. Flatten the curve and economic shutdown are battling it out as they head past the half-mile pole. Distance learning stumbled out of the gate, and it looks like he won't be able to get back into it. Not his day today, folks. They are moving at a brisk pace and all clustered together except for my bank account, which is way back of the pack. He might be injured. They might have to pull him up. Toilet paper is nowhere to be seen. He's lost in the pack. As they head into the far turn, it's social distancing still in the lead, but Daily Briefing is lurking 1.5 lengths back. It's a tremendous race, folks. I've never seen anything like it. And now, Cure Worse Than the Disease is starting to make his move. As they enter the top of the stretch, cabin fever is charging hard, but social distancing is holding him off. Economic shutdown is still looking strong, and he's nose to nose with Cure Worse Than the Disease. And on the inside, here comes Dr. Fauci, and down the stretch they come. It's social distancing and economic shutdown now neck and neck. I don't believe it. Dr. Fauci is trying to keep pace, and with 1 furlong to go, it's economic shutdown, social distancing, and Dr. Fauci. And as they come to the wire, it's... oh my God, it's no one fucking knows by a head. Oh, an incredible race, folks. 11-7-12 trifecta pays 117.39. Woo!
Ow! I love the way he did. And down the stretch they come.
And they're off.
I guess they did, a little clever voiceover of some horse racing. But keep them coming. I really appreciate all the stuff that's getting sent into me. Trust me when I tell you, I'm reading every bit of it. I'm going through them. I'm watching them. I'm sifting through them. I'm trying to see the ones that are eligible for television. Today, that one there had a little curse at the end, but we'll bleep that at a later time. Not really sure how this social distancing is supposed to work with some of the reopenings they're talking about. I'm all for, independent hairstylists. And by the way, I got so much shellac in my hair today, you couldn't believe it. I mean, my sideburns, for those of you who watch often, you haven't seen my sideburns this long and this hairy. I don't know how long. I need a complete buzzification. I need my man Alex, my Albanian barber, I need him to do a number on me. But in the meantime, I don't know. Maybe I got to call my friend Ro from In the Mix. I might need somebody to come over here and give me a little cleanup, because whatever hair is on my head, it's quite unruly. I'm doing all kinds of tricks and tactics to keep it looking okay for television, but it's not okay. Trust me when I tell you. Gary Goldman's going to join us in a few minutes. I have been focused in today on the reopening, on the civil liberties and stuff, but the Dow has been on a pretty good run for a bit here. We were above 24,000. I've said it over and over and over again that I thought the bottom of this big crevasse here was 18,000. We're at 23,000. I want to point you to something. Amazon reported earnings yesterday. Yay, their sales were up 25%. Their costs were up. COVID-related costs were up huge, saying all of their profit next quarter is going to go into COVID-related costs from this quarter. Amazon got crushed. Tesla's getting crushed. Every stock that is not subject to government intervention is getting crushed, okay? I'm going to be starting a master class because I get on here every day and I talk about politics. I try to be the voice of the people. I try to be objective and hear both sides of the story. I try to support our president, okay? But my real expertise in life is capital markets. It's business, it's banking, it's entrepreneurship, okay? So I'm working with a couple people now to put together a master class. And if you ask me, I said this in 2008 and 2009, that the market needed a full colonic. To get a real recovery, we needed to shake all the government intervention out of the market. And you're not seeing a real market as long as government money is awash everywhere you turn. So I, as many of you know, my whole career has been around short selling. I look at things from a different perspective. I tend to look for overvalued things, and I've found in my career that it's sometimes a lot easier to cite the overvalued thing than to spot the undervalued thing. And in most cases, even the prettiest looking companies, you start taking their clothes off and looking what's happening behind the kimono, and the sausage factory is not a pretty place to be. I called it back in March that I thought the bottom would be either 22,000 or 18,000. We broke through 20 through 22 like a sieve, went right to 18. If the government intervention didn't start then, we could have went even lower to somewhere around the 2009 lows. But to me, I'm looking at forming a portfolio now and talking to people on how they can look at companies that all the government stimulus in the world couldn't help them. And we're going to see existential threats to public companies. I think those that are focused for the long term and have big leverage portfolios of commercial real estate are going to be the easiest things to short. But shorting is not for everyone. I'm going to give you more information how you can get some free videos from me on learning how to identify overvalued situations. And shorting is one of the hardest things to do in the world, because when you buy a stock, you have an expectation that you could go to zero and lose all your money. When you short a stock, there is no binary way to identify what your actual risks are.